Silence no more. Silence no
Well, hello, I'm Janet Morena, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, there's a lot going on in the pro-life movement. You've heard about the Mississippi case that went to the Supreme Court, the Gestational Age Act. But you know what? There's a lot of other good pro-life news happening in other states, not just Mississippi and not just Texas with the heartbeat bill. Well, joining me today is a dear friend of mine, and she's with this fabulous group called Americans United for Life. They have a great legal team, and they are out there all over the country in different states helping to craft model legislation that's going to save the unborn children. And guess what? For every unborn child they save a mother and father from the grief and regret of having had abortion. So joining me today for this discussion is a dear friend of mine, Catherine Glenn Foster. She is the CEO of Americans United for Life. So welcome, Catherine.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Well, you have been involved obviously in a while, but something happened to you quite a few years ago that really was what led you to be so passionate about pro-life. Tell us briefly your story.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old, I had heard the term abortion. I had a couple of friends in middle school who talked about it a little bit. Their families were pro-life. I was going to Catholic school, but I never really knew what it was. We didn't get into the heart of it. We never really understood that there was that child in the womb. And I didn't really think about abortion again until I was 19 years old. And I found myself unexpectedly pregnant. And at that point, I didn't know where to turn, didn't know.
So at 19, you must have been in college?
I was in college. Yeah. I was a sophomore in college. And so I'm,
it's like
I'm
baby
lost.
or college.
Exactly.
You had to choose, right?
Right. It seemed like you had to choose. Of
Right.
course, we know that women don't have to choose.
We know they don't have to make that
Right.
choice. But back then.
Right. Back then, it seemed like I did have to, because I found out that I was pregnant in the school health center right there on campus. And, the nurses there, they were friendly, but they didn't give any kind of guidance, any kind of information. It was just, do you have anyone you need to call? Here's a phone. And so I felt lost. I went back to my dorm room. I started searching on the internet, what do you do when you're pregnant? And what came up at the time were abortion facilities. Now we would get pregnancy centers, but back then, before we got wise to what to do with the internet, it was abortion facilities. And so I found them. I didn't know that there was anything else. And so I thought, okay, well, at least I can go get some answers. This is what the internet says to do. I should go and at least talk to someone and find out,
Right.
what they say. And so I went in, made an appointment for that Saturday. And it was horrible. It was this assembly line process where they just take you step to step along the process, give you the pill, do an ultrasound, don't let you see it. I even asked, but they kept the screen turned away. It's 2 feet from my face, but it was turned away from me.
Well, because they're doing that just to see how big is a baby, so they know what method they have to use to kill the baby. And
they know how much to charge you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So it's all about the money.
Right.
And so they did the ultrasound and they just, and I still didn't know what to do. So I'm asking to see it. I'm asking for information. I'm asking for answers.
And you're getting nothing.
Absolutely nothing. It was just go to the next room. And so I went over to the next room, and it turned out that was the procedure room. And doctor walked in, first time I had seen him. 5 minutes later, it was over. And
think about it, Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
What medical procedure do you have of any sort where you meet the physician for the first time when you're on the operating table, feet in the stirrups?
Exactly. There is none.
No. And where was the pre-admission testing? Before any doctor touches you for any other kind of surgical procedure, you go to the hospital ahead of time. And
exactly.
You get a blood test, urine, chest x-ray. You meet with the anesthesiologist. Right. All this stuff happens, even for the simplest in and out same day thing. But abortion is the only procedure that gets a pass on all that, doesn't
Exactly. And I'm a lawyer, so I've actually talked with abortionists and deposed them, and they've testified on camera saying, in fact, that abortion is a different kind of medical procedure. That everything is different with abortion, and all the medical standards that we're used to with all the other medical procedures that people go
it?
through
Go
in
out
their
the
lives.
window.
Out the window. There's a loophole. It doesn't count for abortion.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So you had your
Mhm.
abortion then, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And I bet you there was another factor that people don't realize is that so many women, young girls,
Mhm.
are afraid to tell their parents, right? I mean,
Mhm.
did that fear kick in with you too?
That was almost 100% of it for me. I mean, could I have made it through college? Possibly. I probably could have found some way. But, my mom was a single mom, and I'm an only child. And so it was always just the two of us, my grandparents, other support. But it was
So
the
you
two
felt
of
you were
us.
going to disappoint your mom, right?
Exactly.
Like, uh-oh, look what I did. Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, I found out later that, she's the most loving mom in the world. She's amazing. And I've apologized to her so many times for not trusting her.
Right.
With
Not
that
having enough faith in
information.
your mom to help you with this, right?
Right. But at 19, you're not thinking about
No.
her and the faith in her. You're just thinking about yourself.
Right.
And I'm a disappointment, and I've done something wrong.
Exactly.
So
you had the abortion,
Mhm.
and then of course things did not proceed as normal, did they?
No, they did not. I hadn't gotten the answers I was looking for. And I hadn't really been sure that I wanted an abortion. I knew it was out there. I knew it would make the problem go away, but that's all I really knew about it. And everything about this process just felt so wrong because they weren't giving me answers. I'm a question and answer person. I'm a lawyer, right?
Right.
And
so you went from college to
Yeah.
eventually go to law school, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what drove you to want to finish school and then go on to be a lawyer?
It took a few years. It really did. So I went straight from undergrad into a master's program. I was trying to figure out, I'm a kid, what do I want to do with my life? So I was studying French and history and all these interesting things, and I started working in that field. But I just kept feeling this tug on my heart, the tug of the child I had lost, my first child who'd be an adult now. The pain of a procedure that in the end, I even tried to escape from, that I didn't even want, but they ended up, holding me down on this table.
Oh my goodness. So you changed your mind.
Exactly. Exactly. I changed my mind
before the procedure started.
Right.
And you wanted to get up and get out of there, and they forcibly held you down to continue.
They called for help because I said, just keep the money. This is not right for me. Everything about this feels wrong. And so I tried to leave. They called for backup. They ended up holding me down into the stirrups. And
wow.
Yeah. And so
you basically had a forced abortion.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was not, I willingly chose to walk through the doors of the facility because I thought I had no other choice.
Right.
But then
when you change your mind.
Yeah, all of a sudden choice is out the window.
Right.
It's just exactly. So it took a long time to heal from that. And so that was months. I told my mom about a month later, I'm a mama's girl. There's no way I can't tell her things. And so a month later, I tell her anyway. And she was so loving and helped me get into counseling at a local pregnancy center. It's the first time I found out about pregnancy centers.
Wow.
So it was really healing. But it took years to go through that process, go through my master's program and start working. And I always felt this tug on my heart of the child, of the pain of the procedure, and just feeling for all the other women out there who don't know what they're in for, who don't know what they're getting themselves into, who don't necessarily want that, but they don't know what other choice there is.
So you went into law school with the idea of what? Changing the laws or defending women?
I didn't know yet. I just felt a tug on my heart that something more was out there.
Right.
And so God put this calling on my heart to go to law school. And I started following it. I didn't know why. I thought, okay, maybe I'll be a prosecutor. I don't know. I had no idea what to do. But it was during orientation. So before law school even started, I'm sitting there at Georgetown Law, and I'm in the front row of an orientation, just intro class on healthcare law. And I thought this sounded really cool. I'm thinking, if you're familiar with the TV show 24, Jack Bauer, like spy, like
Right.
I'm thinking it's going to be very cool, like bioterrorism. And it is not for anyone who's interested. Healthcare law is not that interesting. But as I'm sitting there in the front row, it became crystal clear to me that I was here at Georgetown because of my abortion, and that I was there to save women and children. And I didn't know how to do it yet. I didn't know how big the pro-life movement was and all the wonderful things that people have been doing for decades. I was very new to this.
Right.
But I just knew that I was supposed to be part of it. And so I got connected with some groups, got introduced to people, and I found out pretty quickly why I was there. And from that time forward, everything I've done has been to protect children in the womb and to protect their mamas and their daddies from all that pain and regret and heartbreak.
So now, Americans United for Life, how long have you been the top CEO there?
5 years now, 5 years
Wow.
in May. Yeah, but we are much older than that.
Oh, I know they are.
Yeah. 50 years we marked last year now. And so we've been at this since before Roe. We've been involved in every pro-life case at the Supreme Court since and including Roe. We filed briefs in Roe and in every single case since, defending the unborn, protecting women, and just doing everything that we can to establish that human right to life.
Right. Well, I think one of the things I love about American United for Life, besides what happens up at the Supreme Court, is the work you guys do in the states, where you look at all 50 states and you do first you do an analysis. Everyone, if you want to know how good or bad your state is, you guys rank them, right?
Exactly. We have a list of all 50 states, 1 to 50, and we rank them all based on all their laws relating to bioethical issues, abortion, assisted suicide, euthanasia, all the kinds of issues that come up when it comes to protecting
So
life.
who's the number one state?
Number one is Arkansas. There's always a few right at the top. They're always trying to get up there.
I was saying, because isn't like Louisiana up there usually?
Louisiana's up high. There's a lot of states that are right up at the top. Arizona's high. There's a lot of states that are just
and then at
doing
the
all
very
they can.
bottom, I gotta guess it's got to be like New York, New Jersey, California.
Yeah, we get states like Vermont and Washington and Oregon, states that are jockeying to be at the bottom. Illinois, California.
Yeah.
There's states going both directions. And it's interesting because no matter what the outcome is in Dobbs, we're going to see that excitement that states have and all the movement that they're making, most in the good direction, some in a bad direction, but we're going to see them really be free to pursue that.
So at Americans United for Life, you have a great team of lawyers, Clark Forsythe, Steve Aiden, and so many others. One of the key things you do is you craft what we call model legislation. You look at a problem and here's a solution. If we could pass this model law, this will help fix that, right?
Exactly.
So I know you testified in quite a few states, but in particular, I was interested in, because the chemical abortion, RU46, is on the move big time with the abortion industry. And I think it's in Montana that you had a model legislation there. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we do in addition to ranking all the states is we really do a deep dive into them and we find out what their laws are and what their laws should be. We have recommendations for every single state. We talk about what's going to happen in that state once Roe is overturned, a lot of different information that's state specific. So then we work with those state lawmakers to figure out which of our 60 plus model bills would be right for that state. And we work with them to tailor that bill to the state, to educate the public about the bill, to testify on its behalf, and even help them defend it if it gets passed and then challenged in court by the abortion industry, as they so often do.
I was going to say, they're excellent at challenging all the laws.
Exactly.
That's their main thing. So in Montana, they did pass a great law. Tell us about the law.
So it is a comprehensive chemical abortion protection law. It does so many different things. And we worked with a real coalition of groups to put this law together, talking about the social science behind it and the science of RU486 and the chemical abortion drugs and all the different ways that it hurts women, physically, emotionally, all the different ways it's hurting women, and also all the different, medical procedures that should be followed.
One of the biggest problems right now is, first of all, we had COVID excuse number one, they got to
Right.
mail order out
Mhm.
RU46. But now with the Biden administration in December of
Mhm.
2021, they're just letting this continue.
Exactly.
And you think about it, this taking RU486 is a medical procedure.
Mhm.
It's going to destroy the baby
Mhm.
and then cause the woman to have severe contractions
Right.
and expel the dead child
Mhm.
in her own bathroom, right?
Right.
So now, when you think about a drug so severe as that,
Mhm.
what business do we have giving that to anybody without some sort of physical or medical information? I mean,
Exactly.
if you come down with some sniffles, right, and you say, I really need some amoxicillin, you know, oh, let me dial up and have some mail ordered to me. You can't do it. You
Mhm.
got to go to a doctor.
Mhm.
He has to examine you, look in
Mhm.
your mouth, your ears, your throat, and all
Mhm.
this, and say, oh, yeah, okay, you have an infection. Here's
Right.
a script. Now you can get your antibiotics, right? Oh, but RU486,
Mhm.
mail it right to your home. And
Totally
how do
different.
they
Mhm.
know younger kids aren't getting RU46? How
Oh,
do we know that?
exactly. So there are so many different problems with RU46. It's hard to know where to start. First of all, just physically, there's
Right.
an increased risk of both sepsis, infection, and hemorrhage, even as compared to surgical abortion. The risk is so much higher for women. We don't know that
Well,
because
because the abortion clinic says, oh, you're just going to have a little bit of clotting and you'll
exactly.
just bleed for a day or so.
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
read the testimonies because we get the
Mhm.
testimonies from the
Mhm.
women. Some women bled for weeks.
Exactly.
And then they ended up in the
Mhm.
emergency room, a lot of them, with then an emergency D&C
Mhm.
to clear out the rest didn't come out.
Right.
with
What's called products of
some
conception.
The rest of their
Exactly.
baby. Part came out
Exactly.
and part's still in them.
Right.
It's terrible.
Right. It is just a horrible procedure. It was really, I think, brought to the big screen and unplanned. The movie about Abby Johnson's story,
Right.
where people really started to witness, before them on a screen, just what can happen. And of course, even that's cleaned up for
Right.
for a movie. But people at least got a little glimpse into it of just how bad it can be when it's this so-called self-care, self-managed care. It's not just popping a pill like an aspirin. It's something with life-altering consequences and
Right.
frequently deeply traumatic for the woman.
So this law in Montana, did that do some protection that it can't be mail ordered or?
Right. So a lot of different factors here. The law in Montana, it's we're continuing to work for the mail order question because that's really critical. We need
Right.
to stop mailing these pills to women at home. This so-called telemed abortion or mail order abortion.
Right. Yeah.
It's absolutely horrible and it's dangerous for women. But you also have to look at who's going to profit from all these abortion drugs. You look at the abortion facilities, you look at the pharmaceutical companies. You also have to look at informed consent because just like that doctor before my abortion, just like the doctor that I talked to once I was a lawyer, women aren't getting informed consent for
Right.
RU486. We're not finding out about the dangers, even the increased dangers compared to surgical abortion.
Right.
We're not finding out about any of it, the possibility of reversal, all of the different things that women need to know. You don't go through any medical
So the law in
procedure
Montana
without that.
does it at least make them see like a list or a label and you open
Mhm.
up the package, some sort of warning?
Right.
Or what can happen if you take this drug?
Exactly.
Is there some sort of
Right. So it ensures that there is informed consent. It doesn't take chemical abortion drugs off the table altogether. Hope that someday it will,
Well,
but it does say, okay, if we're going to have chemical abortion, you have to have protections in place. You have to have a physician involved. You have to make sure that the woman is
my
getting
goodness,
informed
they
consent.
have to have a
Right.
doctor involved.
Right.
Imagine
Right.
that.
Yeah, shocker. Yeah, it's phenomenal what people.
And what about schools? Because to
Mhm.
me, the other big danger about all
Mhm.
this is that this is going to be given out on college campuses like candy. Then
Exactly.
is there any
Mhm.
kind of restriction on schools?
Yeah, that is part of what we're working towards in all of our model bills because, we have schools, we have underage kids,
Right.
and these health clinics, at least mine that I went to when I was 19, this is a long time ago, but at least mine wasn't just, passing out abortion drugs like candy.
Right.
Nowadays, they're just passing these things out. Oh, just take this, not a big deal. And these girls do not know what the repercussions are going to be. They're,
Right.
they're having abortions in their college dorms and those group bathrooms, that dorms have. And you think about who's going to get a hold of these drugs too. This is a real problem with chemical abortion drugs. It's a problem at the other end with assisted suicide drugs.
Right.
And it's even a problem with something that we hear so much about with medical marijuana. You know, there was a study I heard about, a focus group, and they were trying to figure out what would be the most effective way to just educate folks about the possibility of someone who's not the intended recipient getting a hold of this, as we've heard about in Colorado and some of these other states where, you know, kids would get a hold of these drugs. And it was interesting that they tried a commercial for this focus group that was just a talking head, you know, someone like me sitting there just saying, oh, this is the danger. And it didn't pull very well. You know, no one wants to hear some lawyer, some whatever, just talking about medical marijuana. And then they tried showing a bed with a pile of drug paraphernalia on it. And then they showed a toddler walking towards the bed, arm outstretched, you know, walking on over, about to
Touch
these
this
drugs.
stuff.
Exactly. And it actually didn't pull much better than the talking head, which was shocking. There was a third commercial that was through the roof. And you know what the difference was? Same bed, same pile of drugs, but it was a dog headed towards it. So everyone was, you know, they were outraged. You know, how could you let this dog get a hold of these drugs? And I thought that was really...
It's always more concern for the animals than the people.
Exactly.
Right?
It was so telling of our current state of society,
Yeah.
that, you know, finally when people thought, oh, maybe these drugs are a bad thing, it wasn't about a human, a toddler, you know, a 2-year-old or something.
That should be like something to stop you, but
right,
no.
exactly.
I mean, you know, it's like if we were aborting puppies,
yes,
there would be outrage right now.
Of course.
Outrage.
Of course.
Right. And so if there was a drug you could give your dog to abort the puppies, because like, oh, we have too many dogs already.
Yeah,
right?
Just pass it out to all dog owners.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
People would be picketing, going crazy, but
Of
yet
course they would.
we can let women abort their children at home in their own bathroom.
Right.
And you know, we've been seeing from the testimonies of women from Silent No More, they're describing the shock of seeing in the toilet their baby, arms, legs, fingers, toes, some of them flushing out of fright, some of them grabbing and grabbing a box and running to the yard and burying their baby.
Right.
I mean, this is horrific stuff.
It really is.
On.
And that's because we're lied to in the abortion facility.
Right.
We don't get the information, and the little bits of information that they do give us, it's lies. They say it's, you know, a blob of cells.
And if you have a problem, you'd see you're home with the severe cramping and bleeding all over the place, and you call the abortion clinic.
Right.
What do they tell you?
They're certainly not helping you. They say go to the hospital.
Go to the emergency room.
And then lie about it.
Right.
And then not only that, but just don't tell them that you got an abortion drug from us.
So now what else does the Montana law do? Anything else? But it's really...
Yeah, it's a comprehensive protection for as far as we can go at this point for the abortion drugs.
Right.
So it's talking about the informed consent. It's talking about making sure that women get that information, that a doctor is involved, that women get what they need in order to make a really the decision that they think is best for them at that point. And of course, we all know that, you know, we need more time. We need more resources. We need the actual information about all the help that's out there for us. But it's a major step in the right direction.
That's great. So in addition to Montana, is there anything percolating in other states?
Absolutely. Now? You know, lawmakers are so excited coming up on Dobbs. They're hopeful. They're optimistic. They're expectant. And they're going ahead and working on some of these laws that are going to help save babies and save moms and dads as well. So one of the other big types of legislation that we're seeing this year is gestational age protections. And there's a lot of different ways that can look. So we're seeing 15-week protections like Mississippi. We're seeing states that are following Texas' lead and doing kind of heartbeat style laws with, you know, whatever enforcement mechanism.
Well, right here in Florida, just yesterday, the House passed the 15-week Gestational Age Act. It's probably going to go over next week to the Senate. And we know, God bless Governor DeSantis, he said he's going to sign it into law. So we will, because right now in Florida, you can have an abortion up to 24 weeks. Right. You know, and people don't realize in New York State, where I was originally from, when Dr. Nathanson founded the abortion industry there, it was only limited all these decades to 24 weeks. It was only a few years ago that Cuomo and those people made it to birth.
Exactly.
They're not happy now, the abortion industry, until they can kill babies to birth. It's terrible.
That's absolutely right. They're trying to kill babies on their birthday.
right.
Really.
Yeah.
And even now in South Florida, down Miami area, there are abortions taking place up to the third trimester,
Yeah.
up to those 24 weeks. And
Yeah.
it's just
It's
horrifying.
horrific.
It
It's
really
horrific.
is.
That
It is.
baby could live
Mhm.
outside the womb,
Exactly.
and they're destroying those children.
Right.
Yeah, so-
Either way, the child is coming out.
Yeah.
So why not just give it a chance?
Right.
Give
That's
her a
amazing.
chance to live. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this 15-week protection, it's huge. It's still a compromise. It still doesn't go as far.
Well, we won't be
as
happy.
even Europe.
Let's
Yeah.
face it, Catherine. We're not going to be happy till we save all the babies and the moms and the dads, because
That's true.
we know the repercussions there.
Right.
And for every baby that's aborted, there's a mom and dad who are affected, grandparents are affected,
Yes.
future siblings.
Mhm.
It's a whole family affair.
Mhm.
And so while we move forward to continue trying to make these steps,
Mhm.
we know we won't be happy till we get rid
Absolutely
of the
not.
whole thing,
Mhm.
because as you know, you would never have considered abortion if it was illegal, would
Of
you
course
have?
not. Of course not.
Legality gives permission, doesn't it?
Right. Right. I'm
Yeah.
a rule follower. I'm not gonna. I'm a
Not a rule
lawyer of
breaker.
all things. Exactly.
That's right.
And most of us are.
That's
Most
right.
of us, we may push the limit a little bit on the speed limit or something, but we're not going to go
basically,
do something
No,
that's flat out illegal.
right.
Yeah.
So now just tell us quickly, because I'm sure people would love to look up their state to see where they rank
Yeah.
and how they can get involved. So
Mhm.
tell us more about your website, where to go.
Yes. Our website is AUL.org. AUL for Americans United for Life.
But very easy to remember,
Yes.
AUL.org.
Exactly. So just go on there and you can look up your state ranking, everything that your state can do. If you're wondering what your state is going to look like once Roe is overturned, will abortion be banned? Will abortion be just as radical as it is right now? Will it be something in the middle? That information is all there as well. We have articles. We have information about the actual facilities. We've done studies on what's going on behind those closed doors, compiling all the state inspection reports of abortion facilities. We have information on all kinds of different topics, both medical and legal. And so,
And wasn't there
a
some sort of paper you I think were very involved in, showing about all the facilities and the damage, right?
Yes, unsafe.
Unsafe,
Yes,
right? Tell
unsafe.
them quickly about unsafe.
Yeah, so
They
that
got to
is-
read it. You
Yes,
got to read it.
absolutely.
It's a must read.
Yes, that is one of our books that we've actually put out. We have a lot of books that we put out. We're lawyers, we write a lot. But this one we go through, we did public information requests. So, public information, but it's not always published. And so we asked every single state, show us all of the inspections that you have conducted of any abortion facility. And so we went through those, we analyzed them, we figured out where the problems lie, where those trouble spots are in pretty much every facility that was inspected.
Right.
And then we put all of that information into one book. So we
That's
have,
great. And they can get that online, right?
that's available at AUL.org. That's available there. Defending Life, that manual where we rank all the states and all
That's
the state
available online
information.
now too.
That's
right?
online, and a number of our other resources as well. Yes.
They're great. I know I refer to them all the time in preparing my talks and what I do on the network here and the TV. So thanks to everyone at Americans United for Life for the wonderful, wonderful work you do. And thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless and continue the fight. Well, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me too on Just Ask Janet. And remember, brothers and sisters, there are some abortions only you're going to be able to stop, and some lives only you will be able to save. So please go get that information and get involved today. It's really up to you. Thanks and God bless.